if you want to improve your well-being,
what do you do?
Psychology has found 1,000 different correlates to well-being, and apparently all are important. Your hours of sleep, anaerobic exercises, vitamin intake, air quality, well-being of people in your social circle, psychological flexibility, socioeconomic status, race and minority status, worksite stresses, access to literacy, noise pollution, and your blood sugar being low, to name a few. And on average, these are all important to well-being. But what is important for you? Humans are complex. And part of our complexity is that we're constantly changing. Our thoughts shift, our emotions rise and fall, and our behaviors adapt. But here is the catch. These elements do not exist in isolation. They interact, often in ways that trap us in repeating loops. When someone is suffering, it's usually not because a single symptom or diagnosis. It's usually a connection of elements together. Thoughts, feelings, environmental factors, social connections, and other processes keep reinforcing each other. The system stabilizes around suffering, and it becomes hard to escape. And that's where process-based therapy begins. Instead of asking, what diagnostic category does this suffering fall into? We ask, how are these processes connected in a way that maintains the suffering? When we answer this question, we uncover what's truly driving this person's suffering in their real-life context. And that allows us to use evidence-based interventions tailored to them to help break the cycle. And the very first step in PBT to do this is by drawing what we call a network map. A picture of how someone's unique patterns of thoughts, feelings, habits, context, and more link together. And once we see the system, we can start to shift it. And to bring this to life, let's head over to Jonas, who will show us how drawing a network map for an 8-year-old boy helped him personalize the intervention he offered to him.
So let me talk to you about Kim. Kim is 8 years old and he was diagnosed with ADHD and developmental coordination disorder. Of course, we need more information to plan a treatment. But here what we want to do is to understand the functional relations between different difficulties or developmental differences so that we can target the most useful processes. For Kim, there were clear sensory processing differences. He would engage in sensory seeking. He would need to move and fidget. There were also sensory avoidance. He would prefer quiet play. And he had difficulties with motor coordination, which led to avoidance of motor play and difficulties with fine motor activities such as handwriting and drawing and so on. That probably made schoolwork aversive for him, along with the fact that he needed to move a lot, so it was a lot of efforts for him to stay engaged in academic tasks. Probably all of this taken together fueled frequent self-criticism, and he was often heard saying things like, oh, I suck at everything, or I'm stupid, and so on. And on top of that, his reluctance to participate in sports and motor play probably led to social isolation because many children like to connect in that way. And he also presented with anxiety and depressed mood, and these were most likely linked to social isolation and self-criticism. Now, if we look at this diagram, we can see that on the left part, some developmental differences like sensory processing and motor coordination seem to be relatively stable, not heavily influenced by contextual factors. But on the right part of this diagram, we can see that some elements seem to reinforce each other, right? For example, if we look at social isolation, depressed mood, and self-criticism, it seems like they are tightly linked and they create a loop that sort of strengthens itself over time.
And that was a case example of how we think in PBT. PBT helps us see human suffering and human challenges, not as fixed labels, but as dynamic systems that are open to change. In our next episode, we will offer you a step-by-step approach to how you would draw a network map as you practice process-based therapy. Join us in our next episode, and we'll see you there.
This episode is brought to you by the Process Based Therapy Special Interest Group from the Association for Contextual Behavioral Sciences. If you're not already a member of ACBS, we encourage you to join the Process Based Therapy SIG, where you can connect with other PBT practitioners who are applying this work.